Could you actually just help me set up one extra page as well? You're all logged in already anyway. Scope creep. Actually, can you create 4 extra variations of that logo really fast? I know it's not technically included, but it'll be really quick since you already have the logo. Scope creep. Sorry, I didn't realize it was going to be so much work. Could you just interview a few more people for me? It'll be really fast and easy, I promise. Scope creep. We are not about scope creep, people. No way, no how. So in this video, let's talk about why scope creep sucks so bad as a freelancer and 5 of my biggest lessons learned on how to address scope creep after 40 plus freelance clients and 5 years of freelancing. Lots of lessons learned the hard way. Hey, my name is Dea, freelancer, digital business manager, and most recently entrepreneur. And as always, you can find sections on the play bar below if you want to skip to a certain part of the video. Your time is precious, so take what you need. And if you want to watch this on 2x, I will not be offended in the least. Okay, let's dive straight into the video. Alright, first things first, what exactly is this term scope creep? Essentially what it is when you agree with a client on doing ABC, you're going to deliver ABC, and the client comes around and says, what about D? Can we add E and F and also G? What about HIJK? It's when they continuously add on more and more deliverables to a ready pre-established scope of project. So as a simple example, let's say you agree to help a client write a 2,000 word article for their website, and you agree to give them 2 revision rounds. So after you write the 2,000 words, the client then says, actually, can you add 2 more sections about this other thing that I forgot to include in the outline? Oh, can you also help me put this into WordPress and format it for publishing? And after you've done 2 revision rounds, the client says, actually, I just changed my mind about this section on the article. Can you make these changes as well? You make those changes, and then they come back and say, actually, can you revise this again too? This is a huge problem I've noticed for beginner freelancers especially, and for those of us that have a little bit of that people-pleasing tendency within us. We don't really know what is allowed, especially when we first begin freelancing. We just want to make the client happy, and so we end up saying yes over and over and over again until it unravels into this horrible thing that we can't control, where we are essentially way past budget, way past timeline on a project that we agreed upon with a client. So why does scope creep suck so bad? The first thing is, if you've ever experienced scope creep, you know that then things drag on and on and on and on forever, right? If there is no boundary, if there is no cutoff, if there's no box that we put this project in, the box will just expand infinitely, forever. The client will just keep piling things on, keep asking for changes, and that is no fun for you as the freelancer because it might push into other projects that you have in line that you want to do for other clients. The second reason scope creep sucks so bad is it really devalues your time as a freelancer, because when you budget for a specific project and a specific scope and the client asks for things out of scope, essentially that extra work you're doing is for free, right? Because you didn't originally budget that they would be asking for these things. Now you're working extra time, now you're giving them extra attention. All of that stuff is work for free, which devalues your time as a freelancer. And the third reason why scope creep sucks so bad is every time you allow a client to scope creep, you are essentially establishing precedent for the future that says, this is okay. I'm fine with this. I will say yes if you come to me for things that we both know aren't included in the project. And that is why this video is so important, because we want to address scope creep right from day one so that it never establishes precedent for the future with this client. We want to train our clients properly to know what is scope creep, what isn't, and how we're going to address it when they want something that isn't originally included in the project to be done. So, how do we address scope creep? So here are 5 lessons I learned that I want to pass on to you, young Padawan. A few of these are preventative measures, aka they need to happen way before scope creep even happens to mitigate the scope creep. So the first lesson is setting crystal clear expectations. I feel like a broken record when it comes to talking about expectations, because I genuinely think setting clear expectations would solve 90% of project problems before they ever even occur. Okay, so for example, if you sign on to help a client with, let's just keep it really simple. Let's say you help them with 1 blog post. That is not clear expectations enough for you nor the client, right? That leaves too much room up for interpretation. If you don't give the client clarity, how will they know what exactly is included and what isn't, right? For them, 1 blog post might be 5,000 words, includes formatting, includes images, includes citing sources, includes, I don't know, bibliography, includes, I don't know, all this other stuff they might dream up in their head. That's their idea of what a blog post should include. And on your side, you might be thinking a blog post is around like 500 words. It's just text, no images, no formatting, no uploading to WordPress. I'll deliver it. Hopefully you like it. 2 revision rounds included. Client might be thinking, unlimited revision rounds, right? We don't want to leave any room up for interpretation. We want to set crystal clear expectations from day one on exactly what is included, what is going to be delivered, how it's going to be delivered, when it's going to be delivered, in what format it's going to be delivered, and what is the standard of quality that this thing needs to be delivered up to. So as an example, let's say you are a social media manager. When you start working with a client, don't just say, I'll manage your Instagram for you, right? As a project manager, whenever I hear these vague terms, it really sends a shiver up my spine, because I'll manage your Instagram for you does not tell me anything about what is going to be included. That's not a clear scope. That's just a broad, vague description of what you're going to do for this client. So break down exactly what it looks like to manage their Instagram for them. How often are you doing engagement? Is it daily? How long are you doing daily engagement for? How many posts are you creating? Are you writing the captions? What's the maximum word count on the captions, right? We don't want to just be like, the client's like, I thought you were going to write a 3,000 word caption. You're like, that's not even allowed on Instagram. So cut off the word count at a maximum amount. Do a set number of revision rounds for the creatives that you are creating as well. Make it clear, are you using templates? Will they supply the templates for the creatives? Are you creating templates from scratch? Are you going to start with an audit? What's the audit look like? What's included? How many calls are included with the client? Break that all down. It will make you feel such a sense of relief when you have that all cleared up as well, because then you will know exactly what you need to do a good job for this client. When things are vague, you're kind of just hoping and praying, oh, I hope this is what they're envisioning, but it might not be. I hope this is what they like. But if you break down exactly what you both are agreeing on, it makes everybody's lives easier. And it gives clarity to the client, which we always want to do, because most of the time on the client side, it's absolute chaos. They're overwhelmed already about this thing. That's why they want to get rid of it. So if you can give them clarity on, here's exactly what I'm going to be doing for you. Here's when you can expect it. Here's how you can expect it. They'll be like, wow, I really trust this person. I can let go. I don't have to micromanage them because they've got it all under control. Lesson 2 is to put absolutely everything you can think of in writing. Why? Because people forget things. I have been on so many calls with clients before where I have verbally said something, they have verbally said something, and I assumed, okay, we've both acknowledged that this thing has occurred. I'm assuming that they have good enough memory that I don't have to let them know again about this thing that we've agreed on, right? We don't want to. We want to assume everyone's going to forget everything right after we say it. So after a call, if you verbally agreed on something, if you verbally talked about something, draft up exactly what was agreed to. Put things into contracts, into statement of works, and have them actually sign it so that it never comes back to, oh, I thought, it's like, nope, you signed this document. We're going to refer back to this document. This document is what we're going to hold true to. And if you want to get fancy, you can also create a change request log, which basically is where you can log every change a client requests, no matter how big or how small, and you can track if that change is accepted as in scope or rejected for whatever reason. And you can share this log with the client so that they have full transparency into every single thing that they've asked for, why it is in scope or why it's not in scope, so that they're not like, well, I thought I asked you to do that thing last week. Why didn't you do it? And you're like, it's logged into the change request, and like we discussed, it's actually not in scope. It's really just about giving transparency to the client and yourself on what's going on and what is going to be accepted and what isn't. Lesson 3 is whenever scope creep happens, immediately address it. Do not wait. All right. Now, let's say you've done lesson 1 and 2 and a client begins to scope creep. Lesson 3 is all about timing. The lesson here is, and I've learned this so many times, immediately address it. Do not wait. Do not think, okay, I'll just say yes this time, or okay, I don't know how I feel about this. I'll talk about it in a month, or okay, I'll just ignore that they asked for this thing on a call. Don't do any of that. Immediately address the scope creep. Do not ever set the precedent that they can just slip in extra work during a call and you're like, yep, no worries. It's a very dangerous, slippery slope that we do not want to partake on. Not only is that horrible for you and your future relationship with this client, it's also horrible for all future freelancers that this client will work with, because you haven't trained this client. You are spoiling them and they might not know better. They might think that this is how you work with freelancers, that you can just kind of sneak things in and the freelancer is more than happy to do it. We don't want to set that precedent for all future freelancers that this client is going to work with. And don't worry, we'll talk about how to address scope creep word for word in lesson 5. All right, lesson 4, I feel this is an important lesson. Lesson 4 goes out to all my people pleasers. Those of you that get it. Those that don't, you can skip to lesson 5. My fellow people pleasers, do not feel bad about addressing scope creep. For a long time, I felt so bad about saying no, so I'd be like this, that's not what we really agreed upon, but okay. It was chaos. Horrible. I just said yes to everything because I felt so bad, so horrible about saying no. I thought it would hurt the client relationship. I thought they would fire me. I thought they would somehow then hate me. So this is my little pep talk for those of you that feel bad about scope creep, about saying no, is don't, right? You don't go to the supermarket, buy an apple, then after you buy it, you turn around and ask the cashier, could I actually also grab 15 bananas and a pear as well for the same price as just the apple? Of course, I'll be fast, promise. More stuff, more work for the same price makes zero sense. If you are doing more work as a freelancer, you should be paid to do that more work. Do not feel bad about clarifying this with a client. A reasonable client understands this, as this is the basics of doing business. And if they don't understand this and you've explained it properly, they aren't a reasonable client and you may not want to work with them long term. So this is a PSA. Please stop feeling bad about addressing scope creep. It is the right thing to do, not just for you, but for your training with this client and for all future people that this client will work with. And don't worry, if this still makes you feel a little bit uncomfortable, we will practice at the end of the video together. All right, lesson 5, and this is one of my favorite lessons about scope creep. I think a lot of times in our head, we build this up to be like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna have to say no, it's gonna be horrible, it's gonna be so awkward. So lesson 5 is you don't have to say no to scope creep. You can offer a solution, right? So let's talk about verbatim what to say and how to address scope creep on the spot. This is my favorite way to address scope creep. My go-to normally is actually not to say no at all. My go-to is to say something like, I would be happy to do that for you for an additional X amount, as it's more work than we originally agreed upon. Let me know if that budget is approved and I can get started with that extra thing on X date, right? Instead of saying awkwardly no or awkwardly saying, okay, no problem, offer up a solution for how you can incorporate the additional scope. And then a client can weigh that option on how bad they want that additional feature or work. So it's not yes or no anymore. Now you're giving them the decision. Is this thing that I want worth paying extra money for? Is this worth the impact to the timeline of the project? So I always give the client the extra price and any timeline adjustments needed to incorporate this new request. It's my favorite thing ever. I highly recommend doing this when scope creep happens. So, as promised, let's practice together. So we're gonna practice once because I think often we are caught off guard on calls when a client scope creeps, and that's when we get tripped up. So we're gonna practice once. All right, you ready? I'm gonna be your client. We agreed that you would be helping me write a 1,500 word article about puppies. The article is now at 1,508 words. We're now on a call to review and I say, could you actually just add another 1 or 2 sections on kittens as well? It won't be more than 500 extra words tops. Is that fine? Okay, what do you say? Hit pause on the video. What do you say? All right, hopefully you said something along the lines of, I would be happy to do that for you for an additional $30 as it's more work than we originally agreed upon in terms of word count. Let me know if that budget is approved and I can get started with those extra sections on Monday. If you said something like that, anything like that, close enough, high five, bravo, you did good. If you didn't, that's fine. Rewind, do it again. And now go out and do it to your clients. Do your clients regularly scope creep, or have you trained them well enough to know not to? Let us know your scope creep stories in the sharing comment section below. I would love to know. And as always, thanks for hanging out and I'll see you in the next one. All right, bye.